Bungie finally got around to fixing the meatball boss in the Pale Heart, which means the exotic Khvostov is back on the table. There are tons of guides out there now detailing all the many steps you need to take to unlock this exotic, so I will defer to them when it comes to acquisition. But in this video, I'm going to break the gun down for you so you know whether or not you should invest the time and energy to check this thing off of your list. At this point, I've done endgame PvE content like raids with the Khvostov, I've done casual PvP, and I've done a whole lot of comp ranked PvP, so I've had a wide array of experiences with the weapon, and all around, if I could boil the weapon down to one singular verdict, I would say that this weapon is simply perfect. I've already racked up several hundred kills in PvP with it, and it felt so smooth and easy to do so. So let's peek under the hood and talk about what makes this weapon so exceptional in all content. First, let's get the basics out of the way. The exotic Khvostov is a kinetic adaptive frame auto rifle, which means it fires at a 600 RPM, just like the very popular Summoner does. In terms of range and stability and handling, the Khvostov is basically right on par with the Summoner. It's really good in that regard. So, if you're used to using the Summoner, which is known for being one of the kings of the 600 RPM family, then you'll feel right at home using the exotic Khvostov. But here's where the Khvostov starts to leave the Summoner in the dust. There are 4 key areas where the Khvostov stands a full head and shoulders above the Summoner. The first is the reload speed. At base, the Summoner is 56, while the Khvostov has 79. That's a big difference. That's less time reloading and more time in the fight. And there's lots of plays in this gameplay today where the fast reload just barely got me ready in time for the second or the third guy who pushed me. The second area where it's miles ahead is the aim assist. The Khvostov is so dang sticky. It's super sticky. You'll see lots of clips of me just beaming full headshots and the reticle stays just right there on the head, no problem. The Summoner has 62 aim assist, right? But the Khvostov, it's got an absurd 87. That's 25 more aim assist than one of the most feared and respected auto rifles in the game. The third key area where the Khvostov shines is with its 17 zoom value compared to Summoner's 16. So a little while ago, Bungie decoupled range and zooms. The two things are not directly connected anymore. But a lot of people wildly misunderstood what that meant. They thought that that meant that a weapon with 16 zoom will behave at range the exact same way that a weapon with 17 zoom would. This is not the case. So damage drop-off is no longer affected by your zoom value. That's what changed. That's it. But zoom still means better dueling ability at longer ranges. And one key thing that zoom does is that more zoom means more stability directly. So the further you zoom in, the less your weapon is going to shake while firing at enemies further away. So a Khvostov is going to much more easily beam people at range, while a Summoner will start to shake much sooner and make it hard to land follow-up shots from downtown. And finally, the fourth area where the Khvostov leaves the Summoner behind is the recoil animation. So Summoner's base recoil value is 57. If you don't know what that means, it's friggin' terrible. Almost everyone stacks an arrowhead break barrel on top of an adept counterbalance just to bring the Summoner's recoil in line and make it manageable. But the Khvostov, it's got a set recoil pattern that's basically perfectly vertical with a value of 97. You don't have to worry about horizontal recoil management at all. It's just perfect. So as we leave the base stats behind for the rest of the video, just remember this one thing. The Khvostov came into a family of auto rifles that already had a definitive king, and it overthrew that king with ease, knocking it aside like a child. The Khvostov is statistically the best 600 RPM auto rifle in Destiny 2. Boom. Moving on, let's talk exotic perks. The Khvostov was well thought out, it was well planned, Bungie knew what they wanted to do, and they created a little mini game here with the gun, a gameplay loop basically baked into the weapon. We've got 2 exotic perks and 1 standard perk, all working together harmoniously. The first main exotic perk is called the Right Choice. It reads, every 7th bullet from this weapon deals extra damage and ricochets to nearby targets. So this bullet that ricochets is no joke. The 7th bullet, it comes up very frequently on a fully automatic weapon. Just listen to the firing of the weapon here, and listen for all the ricochet shots you can hear ping-ponging around.
2 for 1.
Wow, didn't it? Every one of those bullets is going to seek out another target in PvP and do 19 damage to them, whoever it hits. These will often be targets that you can't even see. They're people on their way to the fight or around around cover waiting to ambush. They're going to take damage that might actually make them flee or choose to stay out of the fight while you continue to duel their teammate. Another thing it's good for is when players swap out for one another. I had this happen several times, especially in comp. There would be a duel that I was clearly winning, but just before I killed the other player, they would dip into cover and their teammate would step out instead and start shooting at me. Perfect! I start shooting guy number 2, and now my bullets are bouncing off of him and hitting the guy that was really weak and got away. And I can actually finish off the first guy this way by just relaying bullets through his teammate. So generally speaking, the Khvostov really excels in situations where there are 2 or more enemies in close proximity. It's like a buzzsaw that chews through all of them at once, and it absolutely matters, and it matters often. In PvE, this makes the weapon really good for general ad clear. Bullets bouncing everywhere around the room looking for other enemies to damage. It all stacks up and makes clearing a room much easier. It's especially good in the first and fourth encounters of Salvation's Edge, where there's basically no bosses. You're just having to keep a room cleared while you work on other objectives. Let's double back to the perks. The second exotic perk in the weapon is called Eyes Up Guardian, which is obviously a throwback to the first mission where we ever held a Khvostov. This perk reads, collecting orbs of power strengthens this weapon's next several ricochet shots, providing more damage and more bounces between targets. So every time you collect an orb of power, your ricochet bullets are going to do extra initial damage to the primary target, but then they're also going to bounce more times to tag more enemies in succession. The opening clip of this video was a clip in which I got an entire team wipe. I started the encounter with 7 empowered bullets. You can see them in the lower left. And by the time I dumped all of them, all 6 guardians on the enemy team fell. I directly killed 4 of them, and the ricochet bullets primed up 2 others for my teammates to finish off for an entire team wipe. 1 orb of power grants you 7 empowered bullets. Like I said, you'll see them in the lower left on your screen telling you how many empowered bullets you have left. You're definitely going to want to stack a kinetic surge on top of this, like I ended up doing, to bump that damage up even further. And obviously make sure you have a kinetic siphon mod on your helmet, so you're creating orbs of power just by using the Khvostov. Make orbs, pick up orbs, gun go burr. But there's one other perk on the gun that makes this whole gameplay loop even better. Shoot to loot. Shoot to loot works on orbs of power. So if you see an orb of power on the ground, whether you made it with a siphon mod or a teammate made it with their super, you just shoot the orb. And now you've got empowered bullets. This worked out especially well on my Voidwalker because I had the fragment equipped that makes it so that picking up an orb of power grants you Devour, immediately restoring you to full health. You'll see me top off my health in mid-combat a lot in the gameplay just by shooting an orb of power that I see. It's insanely fun. So it's all working together harmoniously. And one thing I should note, if you're running the full setup here with at least 1 kinetic surge mod, then once you get this thing up and running, you will often have duels that require 1 less bullet to kill the other player, meaning you bring the optimal kill down to 8 bullets instead of 9. So to wrap everything up here, the exotic Khvostov is no joke. This thing tears through enemies, whether it's PvP or PvE. It has insane base stats, the best we've ever seen on an adaptive auto rifle, and it exceeds in combat against multiple targets where it can constantly be damaging several enemies at once. It has a clear and cohesive mini-game, a gameplay loop where you create orbs, you shoot orbs, you empower the weapon up for a short time, and when you kill several targets with the empowered weapon, you should create more orbs doing it that you can now shoot and start the loop all over again. It's disgusting, and I love it. I have a feeling I'll be using the Khvostov as a standard part of my loadouts moving forward, and I suggest that you do the same. Thank you so much for tuning into the video today. I genuinely appreciate your viewership and support. Big shout out to the now thousands of brand new subscribers to the channel in the last couple of weeks. That's very humbling. I really appreciate that. If you enjoyed the video, then please let me know by leaving a like in the video, as that's the best free way to support the content here on YouTube, and consider subscribing for additional Destiny content. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you in the Crucible.